Hi there everyone, and let's check out another very beautiful chess game by Paul Morphy. And in this chess game, Paul Morphy is playing with the black pieces, and his opponent is John Owen. So John Owen was one of the strongest players of London in his era. So this game was played in London in 1858. And John Owen, who is playing with the white pieces, starts the game with playing d4. e6 by Paul Morphy, c4, d5, e3, knight to f6, knight to f3, and c5 by Paul Morphy. So we have the queen's gambit declined, Tarrasch defense, knight to c3, knight to c6, a3, bishop to d6, d takes on c5, bishop takes on c5, and then b4, attacking the bishop, bishop to d6, c takes on d5, e takes on d5, bishop to e2, and both players castled, a5, b5, knight to e7, bishop to b2, bishop to e6, knight to a4, knight to e4, knight to d4, and Paul Morphy played knight to c5, and in this position, John Owen captures the bishop, knight takes on e6, pawn takes knight, and then bishop to g4, attacking the weak pawn. Paul Morphy is defending with the knight. Bishop takes knight, rook takes on f5, not capturing with the pawn. So if capturing with the pawn, Paul Morphy would create a weak targets for his opponent. And then knight takes knight, bishop takes on c5, queen to g4. Queen to e7, bishop to d4, and Paul Morphy captured the bishop, and Paul Morphy didn't capture the pawn. But let's take it back. After bishop to d4, it looks like John Owen is forgetting about his pawn. But in this position, John Owen is setting up a little trap for Paul Morphy. But Paul Morphy is not falling into a trap. So what would happen if bishop takes on a3, then rook takes on a3, and if queen takes rook, queen takes on g7, that's checkmate. So that's why Paul Morphy is not buying this little trick, and he played bishop takes on d4. It's not very easy to fool Paul Morphy. Queen takes on d4, rook to c8, queen to b6, rook to c2, infiltrating on the second rank, rook from a to c1, and Paul Morphy captured the pawn. Rook from f takes on f2, rook takes rook. Well, if rook takes on f2, of course rook takes on c1. So we have rook takes on c2, rook takes rook, queen takes on a5, and Owen is getting back the pawn. Paul Morphy was a pawn up. h6, rook to f2, rook to c1, rook to f1, and here comes queen to c5 by Paul Morphy, attacking the pawn, queen to d2, defending, but rook to c3 by Paul Morphy, again attacking the pawn, so queen to d4, defending, queen takes queen, e takes on d4, and then Paul Morphy captures the pawn, rook takes on a3. And now Paul Morphy is a pawn up. And John Owen played rook to c1, king to f7, rook to c7, check, king to f6, and then rook takes on b7, getting back the pawn. And also Owen wants to push the b-pawn, and he wants to promote a queen. So Paul Morphy played rook to d3, and white can't defend the pawn. This pawn is going to fall, so we have king to f2, a desperate move, and then Paul Morphy captured the pawn, king to e3, e5, defending the rook, b6, rook to b4, Owen played rook to b8, king to e7, b7, and white has only one move left for promoting a queen. But of course Paul Morphy is defending the pawn with the rook. We have king to d7, rook to g8, and then Paul Morphy captured the dangerous pawn. Rook takes on g7, king to c6, And of course in this position Owen didn't capture the rook and he played rook to g6, check, king to c5, and then rook takes pawn. And the odds are even right now. Well, not positionally, but materially. Everything is equal. Paul Morphy played rook to b3, king to e2, e4, rook to h8, king to d4, rook to g8, rook to b2, check, king to d1, king to d3 by Paul Morphy. And John Owen resigned. Well, this is the last position of this very beautiful and a very instructive chess game. What a smooth chess game by Paul Morphy. He played a flawless chess game actually. If you look carefully to the chess game, he made a very few mistakes or maybe no mistakes at all. Very accurate chess game by Paul Morphy as always. So why Owen resigned in this position? Well, if, let's say, a very silly move, let's make a ridiculous move, let's say h3, then rook to b1, of course, that's checkmate. So Owen was not that bad player, of course. Owen was experienced and a very strong chess master for his time. So probably he would play king to c1. Then we have rook to c2, king to b1, or king to d1, actually, it doesn't matter. e3, rook to g3, rook to c4, h3, king to d2, rook to g5. And let's play these moves faster. So, rook takes on d5. But it's not working, so king to e3. And how to defend? The e-pawn. E-pawn is going to become a queen, no matter white does. So king to b2, and then e-pawn promoted to a queen. And by the way, rook to e5 is not working, rook to e4. So rook takes rook, king takes on e4. And white king is too far away for defending the pawn. So a move, then king to d3, g4, and e-pawn promoted to a queen. And also in this position, after promoting a queen, rook to e5 is not working, of course, because of rook to e4. Well, as you can see, white needs to resign. So this is why, after Paul Morphy played king to d3, John Owen resigned. So I hope you have enjoyed watching this video, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.